Welcome back to another video. Yes, we will be reacting to a video, bro. Of course. Come on.
Frank Ocean is about to direct his very first movie, but will the industry let him get away with it?
Whoa!
To direct his very first
What? Oh, it was 5 months ago. Yeah.
movie, but will the industry let him get away with it?
There might be some new shit coming out before then.
Frank didn't just disappear. He left the entire music industry in chaos. After humiliating the biggest labels in the business, Frank pulled a once-in-a-lifetime vanishing act. But now he's plotting his next move, and every exec in the game is on edge. What a lot of fans may not realize is that Frank is way more dangerous than people realize, and that's why the entire industry is scrambling. Frank Ocean finessed the music business like nobody ever did before.
Yeah, I'm not even gonna lie, that's aura, bro. That's literally aura, bro. Frank Ocean outsmarting the record label, or
did he go too far? How did he orchestrate his most legendary industry scam of all time? What really happened during his violent showdown with the so-called king of R&B? And why are there some insiders convinced that Frank may be blacklisted forever? We've even invested hours of combing through the behind-the-scenes reports, court documents, and industry gossip, all to investigate claims at the hand that fed him. And now, after nearly a decade in the shadows, Frank may be plotting something huge. Is he actually going to be able to make his biggest comeback of all time, or has the industry made sure that we'll never hear from him again?
I don't usually finish a song unless I want it finished and want to present it.
One thing's for sure, Frank Ocean may be a menace now, but at the beginning of his career, the music industry had him trapped. Frank moved from New Orleans to LA in 2006 and struggled to make it as a recording artist. When he ran out of money, he hopped from job to job, working at Subway, Fatburger, and Allstate just so he could scrape by. Frank Ocean at Subway is crazy.
if I met Frank Ocean at Subway, it wouldn't be pretty.
Nobody wanted to give Frank Ocean a chance on a record deal, but he realized he could make major money as a ghostwriter. We already did a full-scale analysis on how ghostwriting works in the music industry. Frank Ocean discovered that if record execs didn't want to sign him as an artist, he could still help other established stars make records and let the cash roll in. Frank wrote songs for Justin Bieber and John Legend, making enough money so he could move out of South LA and up into Beverly Hills. But there was a very big problem. Frank hated being told what to do, and he wanted to make his own music. And in 2009, Frank finally got a chance to make his dreams come true. He signed a...
Wait, hold on. What song did Frank Ocean ghost? Right. Quickly by Long Rangers, Bigger by I Miss You by for Beyonce. I Miss You, Beyonce. Wait, hold on, what?
If you're a student, here's how you can save some of your time.
Okay,
The easiest
this is
way
kind of
to
like
score
getting off
top
track.
essay marks like this.
You get
that things like this get better with the image in my mind, so I still see you.
Yeah, that seems like a Frank Ocean song. Yeah, go check these two songs out. I kind of like. Just wanted to see one of the songs.
Recording contract with Def Jam and was on his way to being a solo artist. But there was another problem. Def Jam had zero intention of actually letting Frank release any music. They didn't even give him a recording budget. They basically signed him to shut him up, trap him in a record deal, and keep him close so he could still keep writing songs for their other artists. So Frank Ocean decided to go completely rogue. He started recording music by himself, and in 2011 he released his debut mixtape, Nostalgia Ultra. Within weeks, the entire industry was hyped. Frank was acclaimed as the next big up-and-coming star. Fun fact, Diddy called up Frank's manager himself when Nostalgia Ultra dropped to try and see if he could sign him. That would have been bad. But while the whole world was celebrating Frank Ocean's mixtape, Frank was...
Nope. I'm not
but he
even
could
making that
air
joke.
out
I'm not
Def
even making
Jam,
that
his
joke.
own label, accusing them of trying to hold him back. Quote, Def Jam and any company that goes the length of signing a kid with dreams and talent with no intention of following through. Frank made sure to punish Def Jam for what they did to him. Not only did Frank personally meet with Barry Weiss, the CEO of the label, but he forced the company to write him a check for $1 million. Frank clearly did not come to play. That very same summer, Frank ended up beefing with one of the industry's biggest and most controversial stars.
We heard that there was a disturbance in the studio between artists. Can you confirm it all?
No information.
The whole world was going crazy for Nostalgia Ultra. Hip-hop legends like Jay-Z, Kanye West, and Nas all praised Frank's music and said they wanted to work with him.
My husband was playing this music and this guy's tone and his
Holy moly, JC, you bagged the one, bro. You're him, buddy. You're
lyrics
him.
just touched me. And after one song, I said, okay, who is that? Because I want them on a flight tonight. And he told me it was Frank Ocean. And I immediately reached out, and he came in the next day, and we did like 5 or 6 songs.
But there was one artist who didn't seem too impressed with the so-called king of R&B, Chris Brown.
Then these niggas fight, bro. And then he called him like a faggot, bro. Oh, he dropped that bomb. That's what he said. Quote from Chris Brown. Wait, can we see the tweet? Chris Brown. Okay, I don't think we can see the tweet, bro. You get what I mean? King of R&B. That's not the king of R&B, bro.
Listening to Nostalgia Ultra, Chris Brown tweeted, quote, I f with Frank Ocean. Reminds me of a young James Fauntleroy or Kevin Costner. On the surface, that might sound like Breezy's trying to give Frank some props, but when you dig a little deeper, there is a ton of shade behind that cosign. Both James Fauntleroy and Kevin Costner were singers who were way better known for being songwriters than solo artists. Chris Brown was basically saying, hey, that little music you dropped was cool, but stick to writing. Breezy was broadcasting to the entire world that he thought Frank Ocean was nowhere near superstar status and just not on his level. But Frank wasn't having it because he lit Chris Brown the fuck up. Frank Ocean responded on Twitter, quote, I fucked with Chris Brown, reminds me of a young Sisqo or Ike Turner. Sisqo is famous for having the thong song and having dyed his hair blonde, and Ike Turner, meanwhile, was notorious for being violent towards his wife Tina Turner, and Chris Brown had already been...
Nigga, that is a bar, bro. Maybe he's good at writing, bro. Maybe he is good at writing, bro. Those are lyrics to a song, bro.
Convicted of beating his then girlfriend Rihanna in 2009. Chris then got mad as hell and responded, quote, at Frank Ocean, it was a compliment, you bitch ass nigga. Everyone claims to be the devil till they meet him. Frank's friend Tyler, the Creator, who was affiliated with Frank through their group Odd Future, jumped in and fully clowned on Chris Brown, calling him a stunt double for a highlighter. That's hilarious. A couple days later, Frank Ocean pulled up to the LA studio where Chris was recording new music and waited for him in the parking lot. According to reports, Chris's cousins found out that Frank was waiting for him outside and they decided to press him. When Frank saw that he was about to get jumped, he hopped in the car and took off. But Chris's crew wasn't done. They chased the car out into LA traffic. That's mad reckless. Video got posted on social media that showed Chris's cousins screaming at Frank and following his car. Apparently, Frank wanted to squabble one-on-one with Chris Brown, but he wasn't about to let himself get packed out by Chris's entire entourage. Tensions had definitely escalated, and people were concerned that the whole situation...
And then this video... Wait. I feel like he's gonna show the video,
especially since Chris is notorious for claiming an affiliation with the Fruittown Pyrus in LA. Chris decided to defuse the situation by tweeting, quote, this beef is stupid at Frank Ocean. I respect your music and you and Odd Future. Ain't beefing with nobody. Y'all could have that. Love. Tyler co-signed the peace treaty responding, quote, shit got too real on both ends. I'm over it. but Frank stayed silent. Later that year, Frank announced to the world that he was gay, and rumors surfaced that Chris Brown was talking trash about him behind the scenes. Chris again jumped on Twitter to dead the rumors directly. Quote, "My opinion on the whole Frank Ocean subject is, love who you want to love, it's your decision. People stop searching for BS." From the outside, it looks like all the drama between Frank Ocean and Chris Brown was finally put to rest. That was until January 28th of 2013. Chris was working at Westlake Studio in LA when Frank pulled up and decided to block Chris's car in, preventing him from leaving. When Chris's team confronted Frank and asked him to move the car, Frank reportedly refused and claimed, quote, "This is my studio, this is my parking space." According to the police report, Chris Brown...
Frank, what? Like, I can't... Like, I'm a really big fan of you, and, like, I defend you on any, like, situation that you're right in, but, yo, I'm not gonna lie, this is just, like, move your car, please, bro. That was, like, the biggest move your car, please, bro.
Tried to piece it up and reached out to shake Frank's hand, but Frank didn't budge. That's when Breezy allegedly punched Frank, starting an all-out brawl in the parking lot. Over 6 people were involved in the fight, and Frank later told police that he heard someone called him the F slang and that someone threatened to bust on him. Chris fled the scene, but Frank stuck around to talk to police. He declined to file charges, but later tweeted about the fight, accusing Chris Brown of sucker punching him. Quote, "Got jumped by Chris and a couple guys, LOL." Just a few days later, Chris Brown and Frank Ocean were both in attendance at the 2013 Grammys, where they were competing against each other in the same category. Frank ended up winning Best R&B Album, and while Breezy could be seen clapping, he definitely did not participate in the standing ovation. But that wasn't the last time that Frank's name would be dragged into beef. In 2015, Miguel claimed during an interview that he makes better music hands down than Frank. Miguel later clarified his comments by saying that there was no need to compare apples and oranges. I mean, that's just a better way to say it. The Migos even dragged...
You get it? Because orange, Channel Orange, and... Okay.
Frank's name into another beef after accusations surfaced that the group was homophobic. When Atlanta artist I Love McConan came out as gay, Quavo, Offset, and Takeoff were vocally unhappy that he was getting support from other artists. Quavo later defended himself, claiming that he couldn't be homophobic because he had a record with Frank Ocean called Slide. It's a weird ass thing to say.
How long before I see results with Tai Chi?
Day 3, you'll feel your energy.
That is not a real person, bro. No, 67-year-old person, bro.
3 reasons to start Tai Chi workout this summer.
Despite everybody bringing up his name, Frank did not make any public response. He clearly wanted the music to speak for itself. And in 2016, Frank used his music to finesse the very label that tried to keep him down.
He didn't put out an album in 4 years, and with his deal, he literally figured out how to get 20 million from Lucian Grange, drop his deal, figure out how to make the funds apply to a whole nother album, give him a bullshit album, get out his deal all in one round.
Frank Ocean's first album, Chanel Orange, was celebrated as a groundbreaking, Grammy Award-winning instant classic. But it took years for Frank to deliver his sophomore project. His long-awaited follow-up album, rumored to be called Boys Don't Cry, was plagued by endless delays and missed release dates, driving fans' hype sky high. When Frank later admitted he was suffering from writer's block, it also turns out he was putting together a master plan to get revenge on his label and
Boys Don't Cry. I swear I've literally heard this. Hold on, chat. Boys Don't Cry. What happens if Boys Don't Cry? Chat, bro. Can I scroll down? Thank you, bro. Holy fudge! 200 and what? Why is this guy naked in the shop? Yo, okay, we get it, nigga, we get it. Yeah, okay, yo. I can't hear the song. Okay, can we see the album though? Boys Don't Cry album. Internet Archives. Yo, no, this is not okay. That's not what I was trying to search for, but bro, Boys Don't Cry Mariah, this one. Yo, Mariah, what are we doing here, bro? What are we doing here? I don't know, man. This is a weird coincidence, but you get what I mean.
Walk away with a major bag in the process. In an interview, Frank Ocean described his relationship with Def Jam as a 7-year chess game, and on August 19th of 2016, Frank was finally ready to make his final move. Frank surprised fans by releasing a streaming-only visual album on Apple Music called Endless. The album was a 45-minute video of Frank building a staircase while music played in the background. While critics generally said they liked the project, fans definitely agreed that it was kind of a weird way to follow up Chanel Orange. It turns out that Endless was just a pump fake to get Frank out of his record deal with Def Jam. After releasing Endless, Frank's obligation to the label was done, and he was now free to release his actual second album with no strings attached. The very next day, Frank went back-to-back and surprise dropped the real album, Blonde. Blonde topped the Billboard charts with 275,000 copies and was ranked by music critics as one of the greatest albums of all time. But by dropping Blonde independently, Frank Ocean ensured that he alone would reap the rewards of the album's huge financial success, and Def Jam wouldn't see a single dime. Chestnut checkers. Frank is estimated to have netted over 20.
Yo, I'm not gonna lie. If you keep adding these corny freaking like lines, bro, I'm gonna have to stop watching the video. Please stop.
$1 million in profit because of how he released Blonde. Meanwhile, Def Jam, who had zero idea that Blonde was even a thing, was left holding the bag with a visual album that they couldn't really sell or monetize. Frank had gotten his revenge against the industry, humiliating record executives like no one had ever seen done before. But Frank was about to find out that running off on the plug comes with consequences.
Most people have a hard time predicting where I might be or what I might be doing.
As a newly independent artist, Frank Ocean was technically free to drop music however he wanted, whenever he wanted. But he was also responsible for managing his affairs completely solo without the backing and support of a major label behind him. With Blonde, Frank was able to collect streaming and sales profits himself, but that also meant he was responsible for paying out royalties. In 2018, Blonde producer Omaz Keith sued Frank Ocean, claiming that he was owed unpaid royalties from the album. Frank countersued Omaz Keith after the producer claimed he deserved co-writing credits on most of the album. While the two parties eventually negotiated a settlement, it signified that Frank may be having a little trouble when it comes to handling the day-to-day business of being an indie artist. By giving the industry the middle finger, Frank Ocean found himself on the fringe of the music business. While artists like Frank's longtime friend Tyler the Creator had become really skilled at navigating the award shows, interviews, and press obligations that came with being a superstar, Frank had pretty much shunned all of the above. He even declined to submit Blonde to the Grammys, which is why the album was never nominated for any awards.
Wow.
That's crazy. Frank's decision not to play the game cost him valuable placements on streaming playlists, but it also let him benefit directly by focusing solely on his fans. And honestly, that's the shit that matters at the end of the day, so.
We still don't have albums since a decade. No joke.
Guess which student has a better chance of getting into an Ivy League school? First, take a look at Zach. He's valedictorian,
Good. But in 2023, Frank Ocean torpedoed his reputation in an insane way. Frank was originally slated to be a headliner for the Coachella Music Festival in 2020 until the COVID-19 pandemic forced the event to be canceled. 3 years later, Frank was finally rescheduled to take the Coachella stage and deliver a hugely anticipated comeback set. It had been 7 years since Frank dropped Blonde, and Coachella was famous for all-out iconic performances from A-list artists like Beyonce, Kanye West, Prince, and Tupac's Hologram. People clearly expected Frank to deliver something that no one had ever seen before. And he kinda did, just not in the way that fans were expecting. Frank's Coachella performance was universally slammed as a failure, lackluster,
Crazy.
and a disappointment. Not only did he perform heavily rearranged versions of his songs, but he was also barely visible to much of the crowd. There was a random DJ set in the middle, and the whole performance was shut down early for violating curfew. Fans were pissed off, and Frank abruptly canceled his scheduled second appearance at Coachella the following weekend, claiming that he had a leg injury. Behind-the-scenes insiders claim that Frank originally had planned a far more elaborate performance involving ice skaters. According to reports, trained ice skaters have been rehearsing for Frank's performance for weeks, only for Frank to abruptly scrap the entire concept the day of. Frank even demanded that Coachella cancel their planned live stream of his set at the last second, sparking claims that he was acting erratically. Some fans defended Frank, speculating that he was grieving the death of his little brother Ryan, who passed in a car crash in 2020. But Jostbnr wasn't having it.
Is he? Yeah, be careful what you say after this, bro. Are you trying to like roast this nigga for losing his brother, or are you trying to get like
the shit out of you? What the you talk about, you idiot? Everybody is here for your stupid ass who ain't put out music in ages, and you can't even confirm if there's new music coming.
Joe even labeled Frank Ocean a scammer and claimed that his master finesse move against Def Jam had permanently damaged the industry.
He'll always wear the scammer tag. For me, that fucked up a lot of artists. He didn't care. Lost a lot of artists' revenue stream.
Yeah, that
he
fucked
didn't
up a lot
care.
of shit.
Took Apple out the game. He didn't care.
Frank may have beat the music industry at its own game, but it came with a heavy price. Like, his own fans aren't even sure if they could trust him anymore.
Where's the album?
Seriously, where's the album? Frank Ocean, where's the album, bro? I need it more.
Want the album?
It's totally possible that Frank Ocean might be done with music entirely. Frank's focus lately has been more on his luxury jewelry brand Homer, with pendants that range in price from $435 to $1.9 million. In fact, one of Homer's biggest supporters have been none other than Drake, who flexed on everybody when he rocked the Homer's most expensive piece courtside. Drake even shouted out Frank's brand on the 2022 song Sticky. Frank definitely appreciated Drake's support because he cleared a sample of one of his unreleased songs, Wiseman, for the intro to Drake's last solo project, For All the Dogs. But Frank's diehard supporters have been completely starved of new music.
I want to talk about why I'm here because it's not because...
Lie, bro. You know, I've listened to all your freaking, like, unreleased music. I've listened to all your, like, released music, bro. Probably, like, 20 times each song. At least 20 times each song. Please, bro. Come back and release new music, bro. Please.
Of a new album. It's because, not that there's not a new album, it's like...
Frank hasn't dropped any new singles since 2020, and while he promised that he had new music during his disastrous Coachella set, he hasn't bothered to follow through. There's been speculation that Frank's the industry behavior, like scamming both Def Jam and Coachella, has burned way too many bridges, and that they're completely opposed to working with him. Some fans even claim that Frank essentially blackballed himself. Just weeks ago, news leaked that Frank Ocean is planning on becoming a filmmaker. According to reports, Frank is in the process of shooting a feature film in Mexico City with industry actor David Johnson starring as the lead role. It's very possible that this could be the beginning of yet another Frank Ocean takeover, but the industry also may have learned their lesson to never do business with him again. Is it possible that we really might have seen the last of Frank Ocean, or is he secretly planning another comeback that will shake up the industry yet again?
What have you?
Low-key, I think that Frank Ocean is going to make a movie. Like, I remember Wiseman was literally like it was supposed to be a movie ending. Hold on, I'm looking. I think it was literally supposed to be a movie ending, right? Yeah. And then, like, they kind of effed them up. Like, they said, yo, fuck that, yo. I'm not gonna lie, bro. We own the music. And, yeah, you know.
You can create your own website by saying, this is what I want.
Yeah.
With Wix, you can't.
Alright, well. Wonderful video, bro. I was low-key kind of bored of that. But let's play... No, I wasn't bored of that. I was entertained, but not as entertained as other videos. Okay.